Good morning, everybody. Hope all is well. And I wanted to do a short video on a recent video that I saw that went viral on TikTok with accusation of market manipulation and things like that. Ironically enough, the gentleman that posted that used to be a JMG agent a little over a year ago up in Las Vegas. And I will tell you that while there's some valid points to what Sean was talking about, the real problem is not Zillow buying houses and flipping them and trying to what they consider market manipulation. Basically, if you didn't see the video, what Sean's saying is that, Zillow goes and buys 5 houses, 10 houses, 15 houses, and then all of a sudden, as they start to pay more for those houses incrementally, they make more money incrementally. And that is not, A, that's not the model. B, that's not the problem in the market right now. What people have to understand, the problem with the market right now is lack of product. It's not the Open Doors and the Zillows of the world that are buying homes and with the model of flipping them back to consumers because they're at least introducing product to the market and better product to the market. When Zillow or Open Door buys a house or OfferPad goes and buys a home, Knock, you name them, whatever, and they go to put carpet in there and they spruce up the property, they actually are helping some VA buyers and FHA buyers where that home would get called out for improvements necessary on the appraisal. And so there actually is a claim to be made that they're helping the people that need home ownership. But in terms of this market manipulation and things like that, it's not true, first of all. Second of all, by the time that they make their 1 or 2% margin on these homes, by the time they acquire, fix up, put on the market, trade it, close it, you're talking 3 months, 4 months. And so if the price of the home goes up 2% over 4 months, it's actually less percentage of appreciation than the current market rate is right now. And so this whole notion of they're going to, and they don't buy 30 homes in one little community anyway for comps and then try to market manipulate, that's not the goal of what they're doing here, okay? And that's not the problem in the market either. The problem in the market is what I've been saying this entire year. It's lack of product due to the main issue, and that's private equity groups that are going into the market and buying homes and beating out consumers that need home ownership because they come in with cash and they come in above ask because they don't care what they pay for the home because they're not flipping the home. And that's the problem right now. And it's a systemic problem right now because as they don't care what they pay for the home because the only thing they're looking for is yield, they then manipulate the rental market. And as rents continue to go up and up and up because they're owned by these big financial institutions that have now a monopoly on so many of the rental homes out there, that's where the problem comes into play. Because they don't introduce that home back to the market, they hold it in their portfolio. And by holding it in their portfolio in every year and the more that they acquire, justifying paying more in rents due to acquisition costs, now we can't have home ownership to people because they don't sell those properties. And they don't care what they pay for them because their goal isn't what they make on the exit. The goal is what they make on the yield. And when you continue to buy and hold things in your portfolio while charging people incremental rents year over year and every 6 months, not only now is the rent appreciation skyrocketing, so is inventory appreciation in terms of what people are paying for houses because there's less houses available. That's the problem right now. The more these institutions hold properties, the less opportunity consumers have to purchase them because they are pricing them out of their own market, which are forcing them to rent, which then they have to pay more and more every single year. 16% nationally right now, rental appreciation. That's absurd. And it's only going to get worse because they don't introduce product to the market. That's the problem. And my solution to this issue is just like in baseball, just like any sport that has luxury tax or anything that consists of when you start monopolizing, you have to pay a tax to do so. And so my thought is that for the amount of homes that a private equity group owns, let's say you own 5,000, you have a 2% tax on that. Let's say that you own 10,000, now you get a 2.5% tax on that. Let's say you own 25,000, now you get a 3% tax every year. And the reason you have that tax is because you're prohibiting Americans from purchasing homes because you're holding on to them, which is thereby leading to much higher appreciation rates But the trick is, and where it all comes full circle, is the rental rates continue to increase, which is their whole goal to begin with. And then what we can do with those tax monies, so you want to play the game, no problem. You want to go out and buy a bunch of homes, no problem. That's fine. But you got to pay your fair share. Because what's happening is that in our economy, when we don't have more home ownership from the middle class, they're not going to Lowe's and Home Depot and fixing up their home and making it pretty and having pride of home ownership because they're renting. So these massive PE firms that own all these large rental pools, they're actually holding the economy back from monies being spent to our average Americans that can't have home ownership because they're renting. I'm not going to go spend 10 grand to clean up my landscaping if I'm renting a home. No. And guess what? Neither are they. So that's the problem we have. And so if that's the case, then they deserve to be taxed on that. And what can we do with the tax money that we collect on this? I don't know, maybe provide shelter for homeless veterans. That sounds pretty great. Lower income housing. Find a way to subsidize lower income housing. That seems like a great idea to do with the money too. Now here's the other side of it. Why don't we offer them benefits if they're willing to turn that inventory? So if you off 10% of that pool, that portfolio that you have of single family homes that you currently own, if you off 5-10% of that a year, we'll actually give you tax benefits because now you're increasing the ability for would-be home buyers to purchase. You're bringing inventory back into the marketplace. So we have a twofer. We either penalize you if you continue to monopolize the market and hoard these properties, which we can then put into great things for our communities, homeless veterans, lower income families, things like that. But you're going to be taxed on it if you play that game that way. Or we'll actually reward you if you off your portfolio every single year a certain percentage of the homes that you own. So the average Americans can have more inventory and have to pay less money because there's more inventory to have home ownership. Isn't that a novel idea? You know, we always look at this Open Door and Zillow like they're the monsters and they're the mean guys and things like that. That's not, flipping houses doesn't make you a bad guy, right? That's the model of what they're trying to do does not prohibit home ownership. The model of holding properties, and that's the business model of I'm never selling this because all I want is the yield. That's what's hurting the market. It's these groups that go in. Blackstone just committed, like 4 months ago, Blackstone committed another $1.4 billion. $1.4 billion to buy single family homes. And they own, between Blackstone and Colony, I think it's Colony, they own 135,000 doors right now, 135,000 single family homes, and they're committing to another 1.4 billion, which people would say, well, wait, like, why is the average consumer worried about, am I paying at the top right now, the common person, am I buying at the top of the market? I think I'm buying at the top of the market when the largest buyer of homes just committed 1.4 billion. Why would they do that if this is the top of the market? Because they don't care. They don't care where they acquire the house at because they're going to rent it. And they're going to create their own monopolization of the rental pools. And year over year over year, they're going to make more yield, which also increases the value of the property too. But what they're really doing is they're taking away from people being able to buy houses, people that need to create wealth through home ownership. That is the problem. And when we stop looking at these monsters of real estate, the so-called disruptors, you got to look at Wall Street. They're the ones manipulating the market right now, and it's a fact. The more and more properties they own, the less people are going to have home ownership. They don't release product to the market. It's not about flipping houses and watching Zillow make 2 or 3% on a turn. Who cares? That has nothing to do with it. The problem is there's no product in the market. And these companies own the product. And we have to get them to release the product. And we got to do it through tax. And then we have to do it through incentivizing them to do so. And if we start looking at that and we look at legislation in order to do this, then we're going to win. But if we don't, this crisis that we have, it is systemic. This is generational problems that we're going to have for people that can't achieve home ownership. And we need to get them into properties. It's the only way for the average person to create wealth. If I save $5,000 a year because I only make $70,000 a year, that $5,000 a year, if I put it in the market, what if I might make 5% on that? How's that going to get me anywhere? Because you have to have cash to put it into the market. But with that $5,000, I could buy a $200,000 house With that 5 grand, if that $200,000 home goes up 15%, I've made 30 grand off my 5. It's cash on cash return. That's why home ownership is so damn important to these people, because the middle class needs home ownership to achieve wealth. Meanwhile, paying down principal, having appreciation, creating a nest egg over the next 12, 15 years to where you can own that home free and clear that you paid $2, it's now worth $350. You can't make money in the marketplace. You can't make money by throwing it at stocks unless you have big money, because putting 5 grand into a stock, you gotta wait the rest of your life to maybe make 20. It doesn't work. And so these companies that are pulling away home ownership is truly pulling away from millions of Americans that could create wealth through home ownership and not have the ability to do so. We gotta figure this out, guys. That is the problem right now. That's the problem. Let's figure it out.